Leading off starts right now. What's up, friends? We're on Fantasy Pros, and it's me, the Welsh, joined today by the Mendy, David Mendelson from Triple Play Fantasy. We are going to talk about, a pretty incredible rookie debut yesterday. Actually, so much so it was a record-breaking one, something that had never been done, at least at his age. Mr. David Mendelson, what's up, buddy?
Hey man, what's going on, man? I get to podcast with you 3 times in like a week. This is freaking awesome. My buddy, the Welsh, get to talk some baseball. Let's go.
Let's go. Mendy is out of the same mold as myself. Hustler, doing lots of stuff. Big into just like good new technology and with podcasting. And one of the things you've always been really great about, it's almost a disappointment we should have had you do here, is the ridiculous guests that you get across the board. You've had insane guests. Even recently, Austin Eckler on the football side. We should have had you bring somebody. That should be like your token now. Who did you have any what was the last baseball guy that you interviewed?
I interviewed Denard Span like 3 months ago. That was the last one. That was my guy. That was my favorite baseball player of all time. So I was one of the few times I was actually nervous to interview him. So I told him that before we started, so he knew it, but it was really cool.
That I love Denard Span. Now I have to do the quick look here. Denard Span, let's see, 71 career homers, 185 career stolen bases. God, I would have thought that would have been just a ton more. That's one of those guys that just imprinted in your brain that they were putting up just big old numbies back in the day. Best season, probably his second year. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, he hit 311 with 8 homers, 23 stolen bases. He did have a 31 stolen base season, hit 302. So maybe that's another one with Washington in 2000 and what was that? 2014. Spent time with Minnesota, Washington, the Giants, and then back with the Blue Jays, or actually just ending with the ending with the Seattle, actually. So good career, Denard Span. Just like to go back to it. You always do a really good job about that. So go and follow him over at DMendy on Twitter. And make sure you check out all those awesome shows and get some awesome baseball interviews. Maybe you, in the very near future, can get Vaughn Grisham, who became the youngest player in the history of baseball to homer and steal a base in his major league debut. Now, Joe's game is to come on here and be like, I told you so. I told you. What did we tell you? I don't always do that. I try to think I'm a little bit less degree, but shout out to the Wonky of the Penguins, who have always given some Denard Span love. Wonky was on with us yesterday and gave me some love on Twitter because it played out. Denard Span not Denard Span, Vaughn Grisham. That Denard Span's incepted my brain now. Vaughn Grisham played out just like we were hoping and talking about. Was he the perfect type of fantasy player? Yes. Is he going to get extended time? We don't really know. Should you have picked him up? Yes, because he was even if you only get 2 weeks, absolute turn on that ball, crushing it on the monster with the stolen base. Vaughn Grisham looked mighty, mighty good, Mindy. How aggressive on the pickup. He's still out there. He was only 8% owned at like midnight last night. I know that had to change. Yahoo picked up 1,700 pickups just yesterday. How aggressive would you be on Vaughn Grisham if you assume he is not going to stay up when Arcia returns from injury?
I'm still going to be pretty aggressive with him on this point in the season. We just got about under 2 months left of the year. A guy that stole 27 bases in 96 games in the minor leagues. If he can give you, 5 to 10 steals before if he gets demoted, then those could be very valuable. Now, there's also the scenario, we talked about with Arcia. Ozzy Albies is potentially going to return, they say, in the next couple of weeks here. But if he's hitting, I find it really difficult that they're not going to keep him up based off. If you're hitting well, keep in mind, this is a guy yesterday, 2 for 4, home run and a stolen base, 104.7 exit velocity off his bat yesterday on his home run. One of the 2 hard hit balls in that game, 412 feet on that home run. I know this man is swaggy. I'm going to call him Swaggy V. I feel like he's just destined to stick. We saw Michael Harris do the same type of deal where we didn't think he was going to stick around. And sure enough, he's been there ever since because he's continued to produce. So just the spec that he could be around for a little bit, give you a few steals, which you might need. And then if he continues to hit, he could be a good stolen base source for you for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see where he's at. Like Go Cards mentioned, all leagues he's owned, same as mine, but we play in a lot of dynasties as he does and I do. But there's going to be some shorter leagues where he's out there. And that bomb, if you haven't seen it, go back and watch it on Twitter. It's just one of those just beautiful, beautiful swings. It's actually 101, at least according to Baseball Savant. Right under it, Michael Harris had a single, by the way, that he hit 104 yesterday. But at least the Baseball Savant marker was 101.7 on the homer with a 32 degree launch angle, which is just an absolute freaking bomb he turned on it. And go and pick up and speculate, and hopefully it works out. This is one of those really top guys that I really think they're kind of defunct, and how much are we going to get them the rest of this year? But if all of this is going to play out like I was thinking, like, hey, it's a little bit of manipulation and these guys are going to get a little bit of run, then, Gunnar and Corbin would come up. Grissom was just never one that we really assumed, and he looked great. And it'll be fun to monitor how he does over the next week or so. And I hope we actually get to have the conversation, should they send him down? The Dodgers, they didn't care. They just sent Miguel Vargas, as good as he was.
Hurt my heart.
Immediately down. Yeah, hurt my heart a lot. I literally made this big old case on the podcast. I'm like, hey, Miguel Vargas. But with the Von Grisham stuff, I hope we're having that conversation, at least, that it goes really well, because this would be a fantastic fantasy value the rest of the season going into the playoffs. But, wouldn't have been, I don't know how well it would have worked. Also, Go Cards, I think, mentioned this yesterday. We had the Wonky Wednesday home run extra, if everyone remembers, where Kelly had said, if you get a homer that no one else calls, you got double. And Go Cards literally said, hey, what about Von Grisham? And I was like, oh, that would be kind of fun. I knew I couldn't do anything. I want to know, and Wonky or anybody, if did anybody call Von Grisham yesterday? And did they get the extra points? Because what a great fun call that would have been, especially on rookies, and making that nice big young history at 21 years old. Jose Offerman was the last to do a homer and a stolen base, by the way, if you didn't see. About 80 days, 60 to 80 days older. Back in the 90s, was the last one to homer and get a stolen base at that age. Some other stuff here. Dodgers win their 10th straight. Joey Gallo with a pinch hit home run. I am not a Joey Gallo guy. I know there's a few in here that were into it. Mindy, can Joey Gallo be someone on a return from the Dodgers, with the Dodgers now? I mean, he's kind of relegated a little bit, but are you a Joey Gallo guy at all? And especially seeing him hit just a tiny bit?
I mean, a pinch hit, a 3-run home run, it's encouraging. Getting him away from Yankee Stadium and everything he was dealing with in New York, which if you haven't seen it, it's just him talking about just not wanting to even show his face on the streets. I do believe there's something to be said in the change of scenery, and sometimes that just maybe mentally him being able to not realize he's under that same type of pressure, he could be good. I just think if you're going to rely on him for consistent fantasy production, you're going to be disappointed. He could be somebody in a deeper league. If you need some power, you're lacking in home runs that you could maybe take a spec on. I just wouldn't expect peak Joey Gallo towards the end of the season. Again, maybe he's better than he is in New York, which isn't hard to do, but I don't think you're getting the old Joey Gallo.
Since joining the Dodgers, Joey Gallo is actually hitting 267. Small sample size, 6 games, but he is hitting 267 with an over 500 slug, and he has more singles. Actually, he has the same amount. Or no, yeah, he has more singles than homers. It feels like the first time in forever that's actually happened. He has 4 hits at least. So 267 since returning to the Dodgers. Maybe something to monitor with all of those. And Wonky was the one that was kind of into Gallo, so maybe it's going to be working out. Brandon Drury. I have a question for you. Brandon Drury hit a homer last night, 4 RBIs. But since coming over to the Padres in that trade, Drury is only hitting 185. He's got a 258 OBP. He has a bunch of RBI, which has been really nice. He struck out a bit, but he's got 5 hits in that time. Batting average has really struggled. And what is nice is he has gotten plenty of game time. I was taking a look at his game log here. Looks like he has started every single game. Yeah, I'm going through the days. He started every single game since he has been acquired, but he only has hits in 4 of those games. And last night was a big multi-hit game. So here's my question. Is there anything to worry about with Brandon Drury for the rest of the year? Even though he has been solid, he struggled a bit in the transition. Tatis is looming. Looks like next weekend Tatis is going to be coming back. We know that they've got the flexibility. Kim, your big defensive guy in the middle. We talked, I think, with me and Kelly about defensive replacements. You've got Crony in there. They've got some other pieces that are kind of flying around. Do you think there's anything that could bring Brandon Drury down with his struggles and Tatis coming back? And maybe more platoony. Like, I don't think his value is gone. There's no scenario unless he just absolutely tanks completely. But is there a scenario you foresee that he is going to start losing some time and becoming more of a lefty split type of guy, and that's going to hurt him moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of touched on it. The Padres have arguably the most talent on their roster, them and the Dodgers. And just like you said, they don't have to play him every day. If he's struggling, they can platoon him. I mean, Cronenworth has shown that he should get consistent playing time. Manny Machado entrenched at third base. We don't know where Fernando Tatis is going to play. Are they going to stick him in left field? Are they going to DH him a lot? Or are they going to put him at shortstop? We don't know yet. Maybe they move him around a little bit, but at the same time, like, Drury's a luxury for them. It's like the car that you have in the garage. It's like, I've got 4 other nice cars. I have this one. I'll drive it every once in a while, but it's like my 5th option. And that's kind of how I feel like when everybody's back in the fold for the Padres, he's going to kind of get the short end of the stick, especially with how he's been playing. Now, again, if he starts heating up and he plays better, he could, start putting in some more playing time. But I mean, he struggled versus lefties against small sample size, 14 at bats so far with the Padres, a 143 average so far against lefties. With the Cincinnati Reds against lefties, he was hitting 309. So maybe that corrects itself over time. But the Padres could be looking at this type of platoon splits and just putting their best foot forward with the matches they want to play. If I have Drury, I'm definitely concerned that he's somebody that goes from playing, 6 or 7 games a week like he was with the Reds to maybe he's someone that's playing like 3 or 4 days a week when everybody's healthy with the Padres.
You can't have this question, but I can just speculate and throw it out there. Like, if Vaughn Grisham were to stay with the Braves the rest of the season, who would be more valuable? It's easy to say Drury on the year, but I've never been, and maybe it's the dynasty minded me, I've never been the biggest Brandon Drury guy as far as like how it clicked that it was going to keep going. What he was doing against, there could be some ballpark factors in there. Actually, I didn't even think to look at his home splits, which is going to be a little bit nutty because there's a couple games in there. But let's see, he was hitting 290. Yeah, so there you go. This is what I was speculating on, is talk about the ballpark. He was hitting 291 at home, only 234 on the road this season. 14 homers came at home. So now you're putting him into a little bit of a worse ballpark, a little bit more crowded. Yes, he's playing DH right now. As I'm looking at the depth chart, you could argue that there's maybe not a ton of guys that are going to come in. If they wanted to just drop Kim and put him on the bench, you could just make that case, and then guess what? Drury's your DH and you just go. But if they want that more defensive side, Tatis is going to play short and outfield, and if they go and put him in, let's say over Profar, but they might want a DH. That I don't know what the answer. I don't know if less at bats are going to be good and try to make it more efficient, but it does look like he's struggling just a tiny bit, and maybe monitor it before you get into your playoffs, because if these struggles continue, as fun as it is when he come and drops a bomb and has 4 RBI, it might be a little bit more short-lived in this new destination, and that team don't owe him anything as far as what was traded, that they need to play him every single day. And if those splits fix, maybe that's just what they do. So I was interested on the struggle.
Yeah, and we've talked, before, it's just like you see other hitters when they leave Cincinnati, and you see people like Eugenio Suarez, whose home runs have gone down dramatically. You see guys like Jesse Winker, who's struggled over in Seattle, and even Nick Castellanos is obviously not hitting as much power as he was with the Reds too. There is a lot to be said about hitting in that ballpark, which has been now proven to be, like, along with Coors Field, the best ballparks to hit in for hitters.
Yeah.
And then going to a whole new environment and kind of seeing, hey, like, what is this player outside of this ballpark? And the short sample size so far has not been great for Drury.
No, it's really outside of like the big impactful at bats, and just it'll be fun. Even though Drury's got a lot of flexibility, it'll be interesting to monitor. And Wonky, it made me laugh when you said Drury, the guy that a bunch of people thought was a rookie. I remember Brandon Drury because he was a part of a Diamondback, one of the big Diamondback trades. I think it was the Justin Upton one, and I see him, doing good stuff otherwise, and I'm like, you rabble. The other big headline: Aaron Judge hit his 45th homer in New York's 112th game. He needs just 18 to beat Roger Maris's American League home run record. Check this out too. Wonky put this together. I like this. Here's a couple fun facts about Aaron Judge's homers. Yankee Stadium is not the most home run friendly ballpark to right-handed hitters. It's fourth behind American Family Field, Rogers Century, and Angel Stadium. That's interesting. Also, according to StatCast, Judge, this is probably the best one actually. Mindy brought this up before we went live. Judge would have 53 homers right now if he played all games in Cincinnati, which would put him exactly on pace with Barry Bonds in 2001. That's a wild. And by the way, we're just talking about Brandon Drury and the numbers that are going on in Cincinnati. Take him out. If Judge was there, he would be on pace with the single season record of Barry Bonds, presumably not, not cheating, not doing any of the bad stuff.
Yeah, it's incredible. I got a question for you, Wells. So Aaron Judge has been putting together a contract year unlike many we've ever seen. If he hits 60 home runs, he's 30 years old. Are you going to give him the $500 million contract that he's seeking if you're the Yankees and he's your franchise icon, or are you going to let him walk?
I think they're going to, especially losing out on like a Soto. I mean, that's a tough one because like Soto is so much easier. Listen to us. Soto is so much easier to give $500 million to. Judge is older, 30, I think right now, 30, 31. So giving him one of those like big old crazy ones, I think this is where the problem is going to happen. The big numbered contracts are sometimes what these guys want. And I'm talking like totality. They want to be the guy that got $500 million. The Yankees, I don't think, can do that. I don't think they can give him a 10-year. You got to give him like 6, 7, and that's going to make the annual go up. So I think he gets paid because the Yankees also, they're going to spend their money somewhere. What is free agency going to be for them, especially if the Padres lock up Soto? And I think he gets paid. I just don't know if it's going to be $500,000 or $500 million, but I do think the average annual is going to be pretty up there. That's a good question. A couple injuries. Max Muncy diagnosed with a right hand contusion. He was unable to grip a bat after. So Joey Gallo or Miguel Vargas. I would be going to speculate on a little Miguel Vargas right now just to see if he comes back up because Max Muncy, that could not be great. We'll see what happens. And Shane Baz is going to be limited to plyometric exercises only for the next 2 weeks. What is a plyometric exercise? You would be the guy. Mindy is absolutely jacked. This is a weight room guy. What is a plyometric exercise?
It's usually like just jump training or like a bunch of that type of moving around. It's usually not too much weights, more like body weight exercises.
Clearly, I know. Clearly, I've been doing that. I could actually, you know what? I might need to do the Shane Baz. I might need to limit myself to plyometric exercises or any exercise for the next 2 weeks. That's what I'm going to attempt to do. Some stat heroes. Let's look at the stats. Touki Toussaint, 5 innings. Fun fact about Touki Toussaint, if you remember, the Diamondbacks literally threw him in with Bronson Arroyo to the Braves to say, make Arroyo go away. If everyone forgets about that. Diamondbacks got nothing back. They just said, we'll give you Bronson Arroyo in his contract, and we'll also give you Touki to do that. And the Braves said, okay. He was a former Diamondback. 5 innings, 6 strikeouts. Nestor Cortez struck out 10, did not go into a win. Brendan Woodruff struck out 5. Robbie Ray, 6 1/3, 7 strikeouts. Jeffrey Springs, 5 with 8 strikeouts. He's been a really good K/9 guy. And Kyle Wright had a strikeout. There was a question in the chat that came up from Smalls, and it had to do with Robbie Ray. Would you trade, let's just do this straight up, would you trade Robbie Ray for Kyle Schwarber right now, Mindy?
Well, I also saw he said in a points league too, which Kyle Schwarber does get a lot of walks. He does strike out a lot too.
Right, it is a points league. Yeah, points league. So big bat with some strikeouts, and trading a pitcher in a points league is always a little.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's a cop out answer. Depends on your pitching depth. If Robbie Ray is like your first or second starter, I wouldn't make the trade. You need good starting pitchers. I mean, Robbie Ray's going to give you innings. He's going to give you strikeouts, and his blow-up starts are far and few in between. So I personally, unless Robbie Ray is like your 5th starter, you need that type of workhorse for your rotation. So I might hold on that personally.
You want to know a fun little thing? Bogman and I just did over on the In This League Fantasy Baseball podcast, which released today. We dissected 13 first-place teams and all the stuff that we do. And we took all the common denominator players and we looked at the highest shares of first place teams and what players they had. And that was a fun one. And spoiler, Kyle Schwarber was one of the highest owned players across, I think it was 4 of the 13 leagues he was owned in. And then I also threw in Tout, which I'm in, which Frank Stanfield has. So we had 5 of 14 teams owning Kyle Schwarber, and they were at the top. If just a fun little experiment we were putting together. On the hitter side, Albert Pujols, 1 homer, 2 runs, 2 RBI, 4 for 5. AJ Melendez had a homer. Nolan Arenado had a home run. Leody Taveras had a double, a triple, 5 RBI just when everybody was ready to drop him. Monday, we did an ITL episode where Leody Taveras was the #1 drop player on ESPN and on CBS Sports. And Leody Taveras comes in with 5 RBI. JD Davis with a homer, and Lars Nootbaar, 2 triples, 2 RBI, 2 stolen bases.
Wow.
A very, very interesting performance. James Anderson and I were chatting the other day, and he brought up this interesting thing. This is kind of a side note, but everybody gets excited about prospects. Francisco Alvarez with the Mets, big time hit tool prospect that everybody loves, and he's going to come up. But we were talking about and comparing with Gabriel Moreno, and just how a lot of these catchers, the pool is much bigger, and the eliteness brings everything up, and everybody, I think, overvalues every single prospect, especially catching prospects. And the whole point to this was to say, and I loved his point, that imagine if Francisco Alvarez came up and he hit like MJ Melendez, how disappointed people would be. And that's crazy talk, because MJ, it is such a crazy comp, because in the end of the day, you should be excited if you would put that up, because MJ Melendez has been a fantastic catcher too, in any 2-catcher format, and really has been like a low-end solid catcher that you got for free. And he continues to get run, continues to get hits. Batting average isn't quite up there, but he has been a pretty big plus. And I would say MJ Melendez is probably a very good comp to what you would get if Alvarez comes up, maybe a little bit uptick on the batting average, but that's probably about the comp that you would get on Alvarez. Are you a speculative Francisco Alvarez guy?
I mean, obviously one of the best prospects in baseball, a lot of power there, great hit tool like you've mentioned. I love how you talked about comparing him to MJ Melendez and saying that people would be disappointed, but like looking at the numbers in under 300 at bats, 14 homers, 40 RBIs, a 237 average, like isn't the best. But this is a guy that's playing in the outfield now. He's like outfield eligibility in some leagues. Post All-Star break, he's been pretty decent as well. I mean, he's hitting 293 post All-Star break right now. Again, and that's in 75 at bats. But I think you have to like keep your like expectations somewhat in check for catching prospects, because even Adley Rutschman somewhat struggled, right? I mean, he had no power, pretty much. I don't remember, it was like his first few weeks before he hit home run. So like, you have to like, and he was considered the best prospect in the last decade. So using him, you have to realize when Alvarez does get called up, like he is going to be an asset for this Mets team that has a lot of hitting, but you can't expect that he's going to be a game changer for your fantasy team, because most catchers aren't. So like you said, just keep your expectations in check.
And he hasn't been called up, but he will be. I think he will come up at some point in the season, probably in that same vein of the Carrolls and the Hendersons, and manipulating some time where they can. He'd probably be he's a good secondary catcher that they can potentially DH. But everyone focuses on like, let me get that guy. If Melendez were still floating around, I just think it's been really solid. Over on the stat zero side, TJ Zoich, 6 earned runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts in 4 innings. Jacob Jonas, or Jakob Jonas, as I like to call him, Jakob Jonas, 2 1/3, 6 earned runs, 7 hits, walked 2, struck out 3. Kyle Freeland, 4 1/3, also gave up 6 earned run, 10 hits in the double. And you know what we can say is, thank God that wasn't the Cardinals side. Yay, it wasn't Quintana giving up the 14 hits and the 10 earned runs. It was Colorado side. Quintana actually worked out on every front, by the way. Hit the strikeout prop, looked good, picked up the win. He's just, to me, Quintana is just a total league-winning pickup on the back half of the year. If he had been sitting out there, goes to the Cardinals, already picked up win. Like, I'm just a big Quintana guy, so I don't assume he's floating out there, but there are some formats where it might potentially be happening. Home run calls abound, my friends, and we have got the home run leaderboard. Would you look at this? High Cubbies and D Blum both in the 40s. We've got Go Cards and Terry, who have jumped up. I think Terry might have been there, but Go Cards jumped up, with Mike Mayer, Night King of the North, dropping down a little bit. We had 6 people receive the wonky bonus, which was calling a player that no one else called and them hitting a homer. And I believe D Blum hit it, and that's why he's there, because he had Marcell Ozuna, and that jumped him up to 40. We also had home run calls of Judge and Nolan Arenado. I did not hit mine. I think I had Vladdy yesterday. That did not hit, and God, I don't even remember who Wonky. Who did you have? I don't even remember who Wonky had. I don't think either one of us hit, unfortunately. So that is what the home run board looks like, and we can jump back on it today. We can get some more homers, but before we do, we're going to go over and take a look at some bets with our friends BetMGM. Use the promo code leading off. You're going to get $1,000 risk-free bet if you use it today. You can get it in on baseball. Football season is coming in, so have some fun, make some bets, and get a big old risk-free bet with BetMGM. I went over on the top plays. I did it a little bit different today, and I'm only going to give you two here. And I went with the Betting Pros cheat sheet, their algorithm, their plays, which you can go on completely free. Just type in Betting Pros MLB cheat sheet, and it'll show you everything based on their algorithm and whether you want to make the bets and who makes the best bet. But there's a lot of juice involved today, a lot of big minus money. So I found the two, one total base and one strikeout, plus money. So these are the top plus money plays on these for the day. And number one, we're going back to the Cardinals, and we're going into Colorado, except it's not a player that you think. Paul DeJong. Paul DeJong is just over plus money, plus 105 for the total bases, which is at 105. His projection is 2.6, and he has been hitting pretty well, and it's in Colorado again. And the pitcher, Framber Valdez, under strikeouts, plus 110. He's projected at 6, the number 6.5. He's going up against Texas. That one is on FanDuel. Mindy, if you had to make one bet, Paul DeJong, total bases, you need 2, or Framber Valdez to not strike out 7, which one you rocking?
Framber Valdez is going to get some Ks today. So I think he's going to get over that. So I'd have to go to the DeJong side. Just for the Framber side real quick, if you look just at his last few starts, in 3 of his last 4 starts, he's had 6 or more Ks, and he's playing against the Texas Rangers, who over the last 2 weeks against lefties have been striking out over 29% of the time.
Love it.
So that has me hesitant about going under on his Ks. The DeJong side, he's coming in hot. This is a guy that has, I believe, 11 hits, he's been 11 games back, 4 home runs. He had an 865 OPS in AAA and had a 24% K rate over that time, just about right around there. He's in Coors Field. This Cardinals offense is hot. I'm definitely going the DeJong side. I think he's going to get the over there.
Here's a fun thing. Since August 4th, that is 6 straight games. He has had 2 or more total bases in 5 of the last 6. 5 of the last 6, and 2 of those were multi-hit games. So he's had doubles and homers in those non-games. So I like that one as well. I'd actually fade the Valdez one and maybe go with the over. It's probably going to not be great money on that, but that's what I would do. Couple DFS things if you want to play on DK. Framber, who we're talking about, I think you and I are both fading that projection. He's 9.8 on DK. I think that's a play. And I think Merle is a play today on DK. He's a better price, 9.1, where he is over 10 on FanDuel. He's 10.1. Framber's 10.4. And I think Valdez is now a better cost. Nick Lodolo, though, more expensive than both of them at 10.5. Those are some guys you can take a look at. Stacks, Houston, Colorado, Boston, and those are all 5 runs implied or more. Here's another fun thing. Colorado and St. Louis are both implied to be over 6 today. Over 6. And that's where it is. And you guys want to play those? So Houston, I actually like the Colorado one. Like Jose Iglesias would be someone. He's hitting 2 in the lineup, I think, today. That might be a cheap option you can throw in. And yes, you guys called me on it. No one said it yesterday. The tiara. I tried to find it yesterday for my BetMGM read. Mindy, I don't know if you had ever seen, whenever we would do the betting stuff, Joe had this big crown he would put on. So there was a week he was out. I don't have a crown, but I have a daughter. She has a tiara. So I would be bettingpros.com, leading off promo code tiara when I did my reads. And ever since I did it, she hid it from me. So I can't find the tiara.
Oh, no.
I will confront her today, and I'll see if we can. She 100% hit it for me. I swear to God. I am embarrassed to say this. I went through her room yesterday looking for it before the show just to see if I can find it. Absolutely nowhere. So we're going to get to the bottom of this. I promise you guys, tune in tomorrow. We might have some tiara action. Let's end this bad boy with a home run call. Mindy, guests have been doing pretty good What do you got? It's a little smaller slate of games here. Give us our home run call for today on your side.
Well, I looked at the show sheet, and you have the guy I was going to pick originally, right. Paul Goldschmidt, 4 home runs in his career against German Marquez, who the same German Marquez that at home this season has been absolutely just awful. His home games, he's got a 6.11 ERA compared to a 4.07 on the road. It's not surprising. He is somebody that can blow up at any start, and it's in Coors Field. Goldschmidt with the 4 home runs was definitely my first call, but I'm going to pivot, and we're going to go to the guy we talked about for the betting side, and Paul DeJong. Again, somebody that has 4 home runs in the 11 games, and he's hot, and you want to pick players that are producing. I picked up Paul DeJong in probably 4 or 5 of the leagues I'm in, so I'm all in on him. Let's go. Paul DeJong, at least 1 home run today.
That's a good one too. If we had the wonky bonus, I think that would have a decent chance. Yeah, I think it's a very BVP day as well. I've got Paul Goldschmidt. He's probably the best home run BVP. It's still Colorado. Love the matchup, like you said. He's got a 382 lifetime average versus Marquez, and anytime I can pick Goldie. The second best as far as homers go, that's where wonky is with Aristides Aquino, which that would have been another one that no one's calling. There's a big play one. Aristides Aquino for wonky. You've got Paul DeJong. Those are some home run calls, friends. You guys still want to take part? You want to check it out? Oh, you know what I forgot? This is one of the things I was going to tell you guys. This is why it's so cool, is go and check out the Discord so you can be in and be involved in all this stuff. So yesterday I had Vlad, and it got rained out, and I didn't catch it right in time. So I went up and I was like, oh, crap. How do I make this official? There are only 2 games left. And just before it, I went into the home run room, typed in Christian Walker. I didn't get it, but I was able to change my home run call, even though it was a rain out. So go and check it out. Really cool community, and we can do the homer calls. Mindy, that is it, my friend, at DMindy02 on Twitter. Give the plug for Triple Play. What do you guys got going on over at Triple Play? I just did your prospect show, the call up, but you guys have got a gajillion great things. So what should the baseball people here need to know?
Yeah, call up our prospect show. We do it every week, talking about players just in the low minors that are producing well, who we think is going to be called up next. It's a great show for fantasy and just for people that love prospects. We also do a weekly just MLB focused show. We do it season long with me, Doc, Marty Tallman, and Little Cheesecake. We all just talk about hot pickups for the season and our little own fun segments that we do for the show. We usually do that every Thursday. And all off season, we do not miss a show for anything baseball. There always will be something from us every single week, player profiles, just deep dives on guys. So it's really cool. If you guys like fantasy baseball and you like fun, we try to combine both in there. So check it out.
Go check it out, Triple Play Fantasy. I feel like we should all have cake-like names. Like I'll be like Little Key Lime. Be like Little Key Lime. Joe,
I like that.
Little Joe Bunt Cake. That'll be ours. So
that's what that Joe Piece of Pia's name. There we go.
Yeah. Little Joe Bunt Cake and Little Key Lime. We're out of here. Tomorrow we got Chris Clegg coming in. My buddy Chris Clegg. Haven't done a show with him yet, but I've done plenty of shows with him. He'll be up for ending out the week. For David Middleton, I am Little Key Lime. We're out of here, friends. Peace out.